Welcome to Immediate Review, where we see a movie in theaters and review it immediately. We just saw, for the second time, Parasite. Mampton for the first time.
Parasite in black and white. We
Yes.
just saw the exclusive black and white version. This is our second review of this movie.
Once again, we're joined by Jackie Chan.
It's a reference to the old comment, but there's going to be a lot of stuff we're not going to discuss and try to not discuss because we covered it in the first video.
Go check out our other one.
Yeah, so first we're going to talk about the pros and cons of the black and white version. Mampton, since this is his first time, he's going to give his review. And then I'm going to talk about a couple things I said in the last review and kind of explain / change my mind about a couple things.
Yeah. Because a movie like this is something that changes when you see it a second time.
Yeah.
A lot like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
So this is the black and white version. So lots changed since first time we did Parasite review. It was barely playing in theaters. It wasn't making much money. There was a good amount of online buzz, but a lot of people hadn't heard of it. I don't even think we mentioned the director's name, Bong Joon-Ho, and now he's won a
exactly.
Fucking Oscar for Best Director.
I said in the last review that I didn't expect anyone to see this, and it wins Best Picture. Got that one wrong.
And so it's crazy how things can change. And so we wanted to do a follow-up review and check out this special black and white version. So I looked it up, and the director said this was the original version of the film. And it's not just the movie, grayscaled down. It's the movie's, original, I guess not negative, but just the original footage, the raw footage, as it was, grayscaled down. So it's not like they color graded it and then turned that black and white. It's just they filmed it, made that black and white. And he did it to make it look like an old movie. There's not some deep meaning behind it, really. He said he thinks it allows to focus on the characters more, and it looks like an old movie. So let's talk about the pros first. Peter, what'd you like about the black and white compared to the colorized version? Or colorized the original.
Honestly, I think that what you just said about why he did it was that it made it feel like an old time movie. I think that there were moments that it didn't do that, but the moments when it did, especially when everything's kind of going crazy after the rainstorm and they're at the gym and people are arguing about clothes and whatnot, very much felt like, kind of like an old-timey footage thing where a bunch of hectic stuff going on and just a fat wide shot of a huge crowd of people just doing shit. I felt like there it did it justice and whatnot. I feel like that's the main positive that I got from it. It kind of, I think it let me focus more on the kind of creepy instrumentals as well, because there wasn't this beautiful color palette to kind of distract you from the kind of I don't know how to describe it, but just these little high pitched kind of pluckies that they would do on the orchestra, just and they do it a lot, and it kind of gives this I don't know, kind of spider crawling on glass kind of feel to it. I don't know, just it's interesting, but the soundtrack was a lot more I guess noticeable, and
same here.
Yeah, but I also feel like just from a second watch,
exactly.
It's you're gonna pay attention to other things than you would the actual progression of the story.
But I know exactly what you mean, because it's the black and white really gives it
draws out the
completely different tone, because the first time I saw the movie, the cinematography is very vibrant and colorful and fun. And the first time I saw the movie, I had a big smile on my face, just I don't know. And when it's in black and white, it's just it's a lot more grim, and like you said, some of the minor tone, creepier music is a lot. I don't know, complements the film in a different way. It doesn't feel like happy footage contrasted with creepy music, or happy music contrasted with creepy footage, vice versa. I also think the black and white made some scenes just look downright horrifying. And like some people have been, some people think that this can be classified as horror. Others are like, no way.
It was advertised as a horror movie.
I think the black and white version, like it's a strong case that this is a horror movie.
Oh yeah, the depth of shadows is kind of taken away a little bit, because in the color you'd be able to see the different tones within the shadow, but with the black and white it's just all the same color. So it kind of, it's.
I'll talk a little bit about.
Yeah, because you haven't even seen the colored version.
So
Matt.
fuck what? I can't have an opinion.
Well, I mean, you can and you can't.
Oh, I will.
Because we're talking about like the differences between them, but you'll have a Matt section.
Yeah. So I'm gonna.
I don't mean harm by it.
I'm gonna just talk about the negatives of the black and white.
Wait. Let's just cover the positives, then we'll do negatives.
All right. Well, my positives are covered.
All right. So
you're positively covered.
Yeah, I felt like it felt more like a horror movie in a lot of scenes. There were a lot of shots to me that just stood out much more in black and white. And then there were other shots that I guess that's really my only positive too. Damn. Because there are a lot of shots that weren't as good. Matt, what pros do you want to say about the black and white?
Well, you guys are talking about how the color kind of that in itself was part of the film, but seeing it without that for the first time, it really kind of focuses on the emotional drama of the scenes, especially paired with the dramatic music. And I think that the black and white paired with that dramatic music really does kind of give it that old-fashioned, like feel where, it adds more emotional depth to the scene, I think.
See, for me, the old-fashioned thing, it's never going to happen for me. This was shot on an Alexis 65, and it's just like...
It looks so
it looks like a
good.
badass
Like,
Alexis 65.
I know, right? It's like...
It's just like... It's just... It didn't exist back then. So just turning it black and white isn't going to make it look old for me.
Yeah.
And especially when they have cell phones and a very modern Art Deco house. Like, I don't know if Art Deco's the right thing. But anyways, I would have liked to seen this on film. I was thinking about that because Roma was on an Alexis 65 in black and white as well. And like we saw a digital and 70mm version. And the 70mm version was a little darker. This would have benefited from a slightly darker contrast from film, I think. There were a lot of scenes that were way blown out for me in this black and white version.
But yeah, that's one thing I'm going to talk about.
And I think a 70mm print of this would have, obviously just been fucking incredible. So make one. I don't know.
So yeah, I'll say that like the movie is shot incredibly fucking well, just in general, but you can tell that they just went and took the raw footage and stuff and just took the saturation down on it, because they didn't go through and
some of the green.
Yeah, they didn't go through and like adjust all of the white levels and things like that, because you don't get black and white by just going in and being like, all right, I'm gonna pull saturation down, boom, color grading done. It's like each scene, especially transitions from one shot to another, need to be like looked at, and there are different shadows, different lights, different contrast levels that you have to kind of go through in order to get the shots to look good, and it didn't seem like they did that. There were some shots outside where the whites were very, very blown out, but you could tell
sometimes it worked. Like half the time it worked and it complemented the scene, but other times, like you said, it was like they didn't meticulously go.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like from one cut to another. Especially and just
it was intended to be in color. They shot it to be in color.
Yeah, and the nature of black and white. You're gonna run into issues and stuff when you're dealing with like daytime and nighttime. There's some shots where like they leave the building in the evening and it's much darker, and then the next cut it's really really bright, and the color grading when they go through and actually put color into it, they're going through essentially in some cases like frame by frame if it's on film. They have to go frame by frame, and really putting in detail. And I honestly feel like putting this in black and white was kind of a disservice to how good the color grading was on the original, and how much work went into all the people that did it.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. Everyone saw it.
I mean, everybody did.
It's not like
it's just
the black. It's not like they George Lucased it and got rid of the color graded version.
It's true.
It's just,
but
this
it's
is
just
another version we're
it's another
presenting
version,
with.
but I just feel like the amazing work that they did getting the color to look how it did. And just like making that juicy 65 footage just pop, and I just felt like this was a downgrade for me in terms of like the visual appeal of the movie.
With the 65 too, there were two big flaws that I noted. You could tell a lot of the green screen shots more in this version, in the black and white. And then also, Mr. Kim's face, whenever it was a close-up, it was smeary as shit. Did you notice that at all?
I didn't really notice.
His complexion.
It was like just smeared. I don't know. It just like there was a lot of like digital noise, and like it just, I don't know. The contrast was too high on his face, and it just smeared around. Did you notice it, Matt?
Yeah, I did notice that it did look kind of strange when it closed up on his face a lot of the time.
There were 3 or 4
Gave him a
times
weird texture.
Where, he just had like a smeared look on his face, and I was like, huh, that's odd. And it might be in the original version, and just the color blends it well. That's what I'm saying. I think the black and white version reveals some of the more, if you're
not as bad as Predator, though, right?
What?
The people's skin. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger and the other people.
Oh, you're talking about digital noise reduction. Okay. On the digital noise reduction that was done on Predator. Very similar, yeah, actually. You're absolutely right. It does have the look of heavy digital noise reduction, which is totally possible that's exactly what they did. So, actually, I think you cracked the case. It might have just revealed the digital noise reduction on his face more. But yeah, overall black and white version fun, interesting. Color version way better. Matt, you gotta see it.
All right.
But with that, any other comments on the black and white version you want to say?
I mean, I feel like I got something on like the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember it. Yeah, we'll get to it.
All right, Matt, what'd you think of Bong Joon-Ho's Academy Award-winning film Parasite?
It was a lot different than I was expecting, for sure. The moral duality of the people taking advantage of the rich people, but the rich people, I mean,
are pieces of shit.
Yeah, exactly. So you're not exactly sure, obviously, who to root for in this film. You're like, okay, so they're not exactly the best people, but they've found a niche for themselves, and they're helping their family. So it's really confusing on which side of the fence to be on. So you just kind of watch the train wreck unfold, and the whole time you're wondering when it's going to blow up in their face.
Well, in Bong Joon-Ho's, his movies do that a lot. I mean, spoiler alert for Snowpiercer. If you haven't seen it, fucking the lead character ate a baby one time.
Yeah.
And, spoilers over. So, yeah, he has protagonists who do questionable things in his films. And
what's questionable about eating a baby?
That's survival.
I said spoiler alert over, no!
They taste best. I'm sorry.
Okay, continue, sorry.
Kind of lost my place there. Yeah.
You were talking about how questionable morals and ethics between the dynamics between the rich and the poor, and how it's portrayed in the film.
Yeah, and it's interesting being black and white like that. It being a modern one. It was kind of akin to the first time I watched Clerks, even though that's a comedy, different genre.
But it's kind of a comedy.
It's a comedy.
It's comedy in parts.
Comedy,
so yeah,
drama.
It's all the emotions wrapped up into one, and you're rooting for these people, and then there was times where my pulse was going up and wondering if they're going to get out of the situation, what's going to happen, and it was great, and being a fan of Snowpiercer myself, the style is the way that the filmmaker makes his movies. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, it's off the hook. So, were you surprised by the reveal, the person in the basement?
I was, but at the same time, the movie it just kept throwing you like hooks. You're like, this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen. So, another thing that just comes out of nowhere is it seemed kind of commonplace, and then just the way that they were dealing with it, I was expecting them to go ahead and just murder him and leave him in the basement, just lock it up. They wouldn't really have to do anything.
Oh yeah, they tried to
and then
work it out.
And yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of the I guess the person that they follow the most is the son, because especially he just didn't seem to have what
Fleck?
it took.
Sorry, continue.
But yeah, it's just like I found myself shaking my head at him a couple times, like when he drops the rock. It's just like, shit.
He's an he's an adolescent, man. He does foolish things. It's
If you're gonna go kill somebody, you better have a good fucking grip on your rock. That's all.
I mean, how old is he? What, like 19, 20?
Fucking around with a teenager.
In this movie, I felt like he was older, like 22. And he's like preying on
That's still
this,
adolescent.
like
brain
17,
is not yet
16,
done developing.
17.
Yeah, but to me, he's like preying on this fucking like 15-year-old chick and whatnot, and like, yeah, he's a piece of shit. Like,
Oh yeah, it's true. No, I'm not defending the character.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying.
He's
it's
reading
like,
your
it's like
diary
that Black
shit.
Mirror episode.
I'm just saying,
you know what Black Mirror
I'm just
episode.
saying, don't be surprised that young people are dumb. Okay, I don't know. Continue.
No, and it was good to see. Like, typically when you see Asian culture, everything's very neat and tidy, and everybody's very proper. It was very interesting to see a family unit that's a little bit more disheveled. There was rampant alcoholism in the family, which that's more prevalent in American culture. But now it was nice to see, not to see people, drinking all the time, but just to know that it does happen. And
I'm not gonna lie. I think now that I think about it, American films are less likely to show the reality of like a disheveled household.
And they just kind of treated it like it was commonplace.
You're right. It is good to see it, but like portrayed on film. Yeah.
It was very real. That part of it, the family dynamic was very realistic, and I really liked it. They all had something that they could do, and it was actually inspiring to see a family unit work together that well, even if it was dysfunctional.
I love the like moral
Incredible.
gray area of like what they're doing. In some ways, it's like realistically they're just recommending people and kind of lying about their relationships. That's not illegal, but it's sinister. It's weirdly sinister. It's like that's what makes the movie so interesting.
Yeah, but how many people have you like had been like, oh, I'm getting a job, like, can I use you as a reference? And like they call you and be like, does this person do this, this, and this? And you're like, absolutely yes, they can do anything that you need them to. They're the best person alive, basically. I'd be dead if it wasn't for them. And I'm pretty sure they donate to charity like every day, so you should hire them. It's kind of that same situation, except it's, kind of a family unit working to leech off of,
Well, my point is they're
like a upper class.
The rich teat.
But they're bad people too.
Well, my point is they're led under false pretenses. He's not like, oh yeah, my husband's really great at it, or my daughter's good at it. They're like trying not to make it seem like the whole family's coming in. They're like, just like, it's this weird white lie that doesn't seem important, but it really is, and makes an impact on the way the family interacts.
They have to dress it up in a way that the rich people would accept it.
Yeah, and at the end, when Mr. Park, when he notices, when he sees how they interact with each other, when like one of them gets hurt, and he realizes that they're family, he just feels like grossly betrayed. And it's like
ugh.
It's like, it's not illegal, but it's just, it's like he catfished in real life. Like,
and you kind of feel on both sides there too. You're like,
is so
But
interesting.
at the same time, yeah, it's like this guy like gets his daughter stabbed, and the kid sees the guy and passes out, and they're just like, "Oh, we got to get our kid to the hospital. He's only got 15 minutes," and it's like she's literally got like a knife in her fucking heart.
She's dying. Yeah.
It's just like
There's multiple
it's just
people
like
dying on the
give me
lawn.
the car keys, and then when he goes to get the car keys, he like lifts up the guy, and the guy's like respect, and then he just takes the keys and goes, ugh.
They were worshiping him.
Yeah, it's like.
The provider, yeah.
It's like there's if we're gonna talk about moral gray area, there's moral gray through like the whole movie is moral gray, just like the black and white color grading we just experienced. Mind blown.
Yeah.
Mind blown. And maybe that was the reason for it as well, like an artistic perspective on like the gray area, like Parasite, the gray area of the movie.
So Mampton,
Done incredibly well.
Do you think it deserved to win Best Picture?
I think that it's on par with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but it's hard to say which one's better. Being a fan of both directors, it's hard to choose. So, I mean, I guess it's the more artsy one, and I'm not sure who won the most awards. That one had that.
It was Bong Joon-Ho.
Yeah, Parasite,
Okay.
for sure.
Well, then they went with a safe bet then.
In a way they did. They went with both the safe and risky bet because the internet would have been so mad if Tarantino won. I would have been happy, but I'm happy either way.
I mean, I would have been happy with,
think that's
with
one of the
Scorsese or
reasons why I won.
Tarantino or like it really. I mean, what was the only one that was it? Ford v Ferrari.
Ford v Ferrari.
Yeah, Ford v Ferrari. I was like that one definitely like no on that, but
Parasite. I was rooting for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood during the Oscars. Parasite was the only movie I was like, that's the one that can beat Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And it did. Mad respect. After watching Parasite a second time,
respect.
after watching Parasite a second time, I'm very confident that like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a better film. I'm sorry, don't at me. Yeah. So that being said, I'll talk about the couple things I want to cover that I said. So last time I was super duper harsh on the ending, and I really really hated it. I really liked the close-up shot of his eyes when he drops the binoculars, and I really wanted it to cut there, and I was pretty bummed it didn't. And everything that came after, I just hated. I just hated it all.
It did feel unnecessary.
So second time I watched it. I'm still not in love with the ending. However, like I get it, and I dig it to an extent. I still think it goes on it's a bit too detailed with what happens to the dad afterwards, but I know some of it's supposed to be fantasy and some of it's not, but it goes into a bit too much detail with the dad still. But I like the ending. I don't like hate it anymore. I really like one thing I didn't notice, that the rock is fake. Because when they're in the apartment, the rock floats when they're there.
Oh, so that's why I didn't kill him.
That's why he didn't die. We mentioned that in the last review. We were like, oh, he totally should have died. That's stupid. It was a fake fucking rock.
And then but then he puts it in the river at the end.
And that signals the fantasy sequence when the sun, after it cuts, because I thought that too.
Okay.
He puts it in the river and it sinks, and I was like, wait a minute. And then it cuts to the sun, like, going to buy the house and stuff, which is an obvious fantasy. And so, like, the rock sinking kind of triggered the
delusion.
Yeah, the delusion. And so, like, the ending is just a lot more well-crafted than I gave it credit for in our last review. But it's still not the best.
It's not, like, realistic, but at the same time, it's like, like, we talk about it in the last review, but just like this guy trapped in a basement, like every night goes up and like puts a novel through Morse code
Puts a novel
with
through.
like the hopes that his son is there and reads
And
it.
he does it while the family's sleeping. That's the thing.
Yeah,
I
it's
was
like-
also saying, like, they never notice, and it's like, well, if he did it when they slept, no, they wouldn't notice.
One
so.
thing that I'd like to say about they have cameras on the outside of their house, but a lot of these modern homes, especially people with that kind of money, also have cameras on the inside of their homes, which is wired via Wi-Fi to their phones, so they can monitor it from work. So it's triggered by motion sensor.
We don't talk about that.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
I'm just saying. Like, I work in a lot of homes, and half the time the homeowner will watch you while you're working.
It's true, but suspension of disbelief. A lot of this movie could be solved with install a security camera.
Right.
But yeah, it really is fantastic.
Look at the blueprints of your home
Look at the.
before you buy them.
Yeah, I love some of the foreshadowing, like, oh, she used to eat for two, and then you turned to me and you were like, two. Oh, two.
But then he said that
Yeah.
like she bought the food, so she was still eating for two and buying him food. She's just a big girl.
She was.
So get at me.
Yeah. Anything else I wanted to cover that we talked about in the last review? It was the rock. We mentioned that it was ridiculous the kid survived. Well, it's not a real rock, so he survived. Ending's not as bad as I said. It is not Shyamalan.
I was just about to mention that.
I apologize. I compared it to a Shyamalan twist. It's not anywhere near that bad. I was wrong. Yeah. Parasite's the shit.
Really good second time watch, honestly. Lots of
the pacing
of foreshadowing.
is so much
Pacing's
better
really
the second
great.
time. Just yeah.
And yeah,
It
lots
seemed pretty
of
symbiotic, though. You know.
and yeah, lots of just good foreshadowing of like what was gonna happen and what was going on, and yeah, lots of emphasis on like making plans and things like that that kind of tie in the ending a little bit more. The dad's like, you know, the very first thing is like, oh, we don't got Wi-Fi, what's your plan? You know, and then he's like at the end like, oh, I've got a plan, and it's this crazy plan. I'm gonna make money. How? I don't fucking know, but I'm gonna make so much money, and then I'm gonna get laid and buy a house. But yeah, it's a great fucking movie. The person A said this took her number one best movie of 2019, and it won the Oscar. It's like
It was for that diddle seat on the couch.
It was number 10 on my top 10. If I saw it a second time before I made that list, I probably would have bumped it up. I would have.
I would have had it on my
honestly
list.
don't know if I put it on my list.
I don't think it made your list,
I don't
man.
think it did.
Hey, that's
there was some
okay.
other stuff,
Don't downvote
but like,
us.
but yeah, it's like don't at me. You know, we don't have a Twitter anymore anyway, so y'all can suck it.
Lot of movies come out. It's just like, and everyone's got different tastes.
Yep.
But this really is a fantastic and unique movie.
Yeah, even though it wasn't on my top 10, super proud that it made it. You know, and like. Go watch the director's speech on winning Best Director. He gives like a standing ovation to Scorsese and says, "I love Tarantino." And everyone else is like, "Oh yeah, I hear you guys make movies too." And yeah, I don't know. It was cool. Good movie.
So I'd like to say the first time we saw the movie completely, it was me, Peter, Person A. And this time there were like 20-something people in this tiny little theater we went to. It wasn't playing at our big theater, Regal.
Shout out to Tin Pan Alley.
Tin Pan Alley, we saw it there. And, yeah, awesome. So,
I think that wraps up our review, honestly.
yeah, I don't know.
It's good.
I think Criterion's releasing a Blu-ray of Parasite. Hopefully they put the black and white version. Because
they probably will.
Yeah, I think they will, because just grayscaling down your TV won't be the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Peace.